Hello. There we go. Right. I've realized why so often I go wrong just as I hit the appropriate button to get the live. And that's because there are three buttons as you set this live up. And one of them says done, which is really nicely highlighted in blue. Next to it is the one that says go live. And of course, the tendency is to always hit the done button, which then clears the screen and we disappear into oblivion, which is what I've done on several occasions. But today I realized I didn't, but I thought the done button is rather an interesting analogy for life, isn't it? I think you always hit the button that's screaming the loudest, even without thinking about it. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about mindfulness. Hello, Billy, you're off to sort out the washing machine. And Steve, good to see you. Yes, I was wondering how it was over there, the other side of North Yorkshire. Nancy, hello, good to see you. Yeah, we're grey, very, very grey. I've literally just come back from walking up the hill behind the cottage and basically we're in cloud. So that was that was nice actually. It was really quite refreshing, except I got rather warm. So anyway, so David, hello. Yes, well, hello Stevie, good to see you there from over on the other side of the world where it's all changing. Well done, USA, I think. I don't know, let's not get into that. Okay, well, don't worry, Billy, that's good to see you there. So what we're going to talk about today, I think we never really know, do we? And I will just say the usual preamble. This obviously is a live, so therefore there is much meandering chit chat, which obviously the regulars such as JF, hello JF, and all the rest of you enjoy, I hope. So, which is why you keep coming back, which is great. Really does function on your questions. So please do bring up questions as we go through at any point on whatever topic. And if you're new to this sort of live Q&A, then just chuck in a question whenever you want. Jim, hello, that's great, good to see you. Chuck in a question whenever you like. And hello, Martin, nice to see you. And good to hear it, Nancy. And we'll circle back round if I don't immediately pick them up. So we'll do our best. I will do my best. I think the management are obviously coming in here as well. So we'll see. We will do our best to answer those questions. Obviously, if you don't like the chit chat, then pick up the highlights in the playlist, which is called Highlights, surprisingly enough. Let me just fiddle with something here, see if I can get rid of, there's this box that's annoying me that's taking up, no, okay, right, that's good, that's better. Sorry, just that's really annoying me. Okay, so what I thought we would do, seeing as there weren't any glaring questions being left over the last couple of weeks since the last live, I thought we would look again. It's always nice to revisit this aspect about what it means to be a human being. And actually, this ties in with, if any of you got time and you want to drop in on another live conversation that I'm having tomorrow, I'm doing another interview with Lisa M. Gunshaw over on Buddhist Biohacker channel. JF or Billy, if you want to just do a quick sagebrush, hello, a quick search on Buddhist Biohacker channel. Having a chat with her as part of an event that she's sort of facilitating. There's lots and lots of lives with lots of different facilitators, lots of therapists. It's called One Heart, One Earth. So if you go to oneheartoneearth.net, you can subscribe to their email. They can get lots of freebies. Some of you might be interested in that. But I'm doing a chat tomorrow with her, and the essence of that conversation is going to be a little bit like today. So if we leave some threads hanging, then I'll try and pick those off tomorrow with Lisa. That conversation is at 4 o'clock tomorrow. And she's sort of broadly titled the whole event, One Earth, one heart, one earth. But it's also about remembering who we are. And so this is what we want to be talking about today. Fantastic, thanks, JF. This spiritual aspect, this experience that we have here as human beings, which really is fundamentally a spiritual being in a human form. And that just opens up a massive can of worms, doesn't it? Every time we think about that. And where do we go? I'd quite like you to ask some questions on that theme, because I don't, in fact, I've recorded, last week I recorded a video sort of touching on this. I recorded a video that will be uploaded soon about focused intent and about the power that we work with in the subtle realms. All of us do that. We're all learning. And I said in that, I don't think that I know of anybody that actually can remain functioning from the spiritual perspective all the time. In other words, putting ego, the identity of self, to one side. I don't know of anybody. Now, Gary Vasey, if you haven't, hello Tammy, good to see you. Gary Vasey, author of many sort of pretty scary type books. But The Magician that I spoke to, I did an interview with, a couple of videos of content that we featured in that interview. He would say that perhaps Jesus Christ perhaps was somebody that actually did manage to put ego completely and utterly to one side. Nick, hello, good to see you. And a nice smiley emoticon. Thank you, Jeff. Good. Yes, I really enjoyed talking to Gary. And we've got some more interviews coming up. I've got an interview coming up with a guy called Matt, and we're talking about Zen and about the trance aspect of life, which is interesting. Very, very different character to Gary. And I'm hoping to talk to one of our regulars, although doesn't make so many appearances these days. That's his handle that you'll see on there is the Full Monty. It's a guy called Voikan. I'm going to talk to Voikan about the Seth prophecies, or the Seth channelings, which I think is actually really very interesting. Margie, good to see you. Chilly, California. Why is it chilly? Because it's winter, I guess. By chilly, you probably mean it's about 20 degrees. So there's lots of interviews coming up. So do pop suggestions if you've got anybody in particular that you'd like us to speak to. I was thinking about contacting Elizabeth Brown. She's a very interesting dowser. Yeah, good, cool, Margie, well done. Thank you. So let's come round. I spent some time this morning. Some of you will know I do make notes usually before these lives, believe it or not. And I spent some time, I probably spent a couple of hours scribbling down reams of notes. But I'm not sure that these reams of notes were anything more than just my own sort of mental machinations. And I'm not sure that really there's a huge amount of information in there that I actually want to pull together for a live conversation. Let me just read Jim's comments. It's probably a typo, it's Walter, W-A-L-T-E-R, Jim. I spoke to your friend Tammy, on the phone, and she was dowsing, asked a question, and her rods answered my question with a holy rod. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, that's what I would expect. Absolutely what I would expect. So you were presumably, Jim, asking the question out loud. That's okay. Okay. One heart, one earth, one earth, one earth, one heart, one earth playlist. Okay, cheers. So why was it a surprise though, guys? Why was it? I don't understand why you were surprised by it. But surely that's what you would expect. If Jim's asking a question and Tammy's got the rods, they would reply because Tammy's listening and acting as the receiver to therefore give a result. As soon as you pick up a pendulum or a rod, a dowsing set of dowsing rods, you're communicating. It's working. It's flowing through. Oh yeah, cheers, Billy. So that's what you'd expect. So people will phone and speak to a dowser, and I think I've talked about the fact that but that's right, Tammy. Excellent. I mean, that's really good for both of you. I'm really pleased. I'm just a bit surprised that you kind of a bit take right. It's brilliant. That's the way it should be. So well done, you guys. Really, really good. Really good. No, I mean, I'm chuffed. because I know, both of you have been going through your tough times, not only with dowsing, but with other stuff as well. So fantastic. I'm just surprised, Yeah, good, excellent. It was really cool. Because these experiences are, they really, really are. And I think, again, I think what it is, if Tammy, I'm not sure if Tammy and Jim, if you've watched the Gary Vay's interviews, what's lovely in that is that Gary describes an exercise that he did when he was really in tune with the universe and really playing with the subtle energies of existence, and just experienced a lovely, lovely moment where he had 3 butterflies come and land on him as he was walking through this woods, really as a result of his intention to change the way he was interacting with the surroundings. And as the way he tells, he's a storyteller, he's an author, he's a writer, he speaks in these wonderful tales, very eloquent. And that was, for him, a very cool moment. Again, these are the wow moments. And what you've got there is a wow moment, allowing the universe to really show itself to you in the external environment coming through and giving you a little magical moment that you can cherish and build your trust onwards from that point. And that's the key thing when you're learning, as you two are, is that you use it and you remember that and you build on that, because that's just the start. It's a very nice little simple thing, the universe saying, yeah, go for it. Terrific. So I suppose that you might be asking that, or you might be commenting how cool it was, because I could bang on about, having to go into the meditative state and really focus and all this sort of stuff. And I suppose when I talk about that, it might make you feel as though it's difficult, it's hard work. Whereas actually, you see, what you did there with that automatic response is you just allowed, because you weren't under pressure, you weren't trying, so you were just naturally allowing your natural self to be in tune in that intuitive way, right? That's what Tammy was doing, just listening to Jim and just thinking about what was being said, listening, and the rods would respond. Okay, Chris. So, and we go from, when we're learning stuff, we go from being naturally able to do things to a stage which is learning how to do something and not doing it as well as we were before we realized that we had to learn more and consciously started to learn. So phase 2 is always, oh, this isn't going quite so well. I've got to learn properly how to do this. And this is sort of really, I suppose, where I talk about having to go into a deep state of meditation and a deep relaxation in order to be successful in getting as good results as possible. Whereas actually, most people will douse naturally if they don't even think about it, because they just automatically, because I've always said it is a natural part of being human. So the natural state is over here, stage 1. The unnatural state, where you're logically learning and brackets making things difficult for yourself, which is what we all do. As we learn, we think, oh, this is not as easy as I thought. How do I do this? And you think consciously, and you get all self-conscious. And that's where you need to start putting the meditation into it. And then as you learn about it and you build your trust and you build your faith and you build your belief, then it becomes more natural again. But you then have the knowledge and the understanding of how to work with it and take it to another step. So this second phase, that is always the dodgy, awkward bit, enables you to take this natural talent or natural ability further than if you didn't do the learning. Does that make sense? That's the way that I would summarize it. Hello, Jenny. Nice to see you there. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, brilliant. And you see, again, with Jim, it might be that actually, I think I might have said this before for you, Jim, that you actually say, well, the rods are just getting in my way. because for some people that are really, really already naturally in tune, and men can do it as well as women. It's just that there are more women proportionally that are probably more sensitive or are willing to speak about it than there are men necessarily. But then I was glancing at my YouTube statistics just the other week. I get very little time to analyze what's going on with my channel, but I did have a quick glance, and actually it turns out the percentage of men involved subscribing to this channel is far higher than the percentage of women, which is very unusual. So I'm not sure whether that's because I've got a large percentage of maybe sort of metal detectorists who are trying to use the dowsing to then assist them with the metal detecting, which is possible. I don't know, but I just thought interesting. Yeah, he's very sensitive. Yeah, and a lot of guys are. A lot of men are far more sensitive than they ever realise. So, and that's, and again, look, the trouble is we use these broad descriptors, saying like, a lot more men are far more sensitive than they think they are. And what does that mean? Well, it doesn't really mean very much, because instantly what that does is say that for many of you, listening, it says, well, there's somebody out there that's better than you are, because the natural human inclination, unless you're a big head, is to assume that you're not as good as somebody else. I mean, broadly speaking, again, this is another massive generalization. So I think that this aspect, self-perception, which is one of the things that I was going to talk about with spirit being. As we are all spirit beings. I think it really, really does come down to this level of point of view of self. As soon as we try to identify what and who, and we go into intellectual exercises about analyzing things, then we're very much operating in that mental level, that human-based level. Whereas, as we know, the emotional state, the simply being, the feeling state, the physical signals and nuances that we pick up, that's far closer to align to our natural spiritual self, which is partly why we talk a lot about trying to feel things, feeling our way into things, and feeling, if we go to a sacred site, we want to be able to feel the presence of another spiritual being, a four-dimensional being. Let's call it 4 dimensions. I know that, let's not get into the nuances of splitting hairs over the sort of scientific definitions of these things, but I think if we think about spirit beings and spirit personalities and all that goes on in the spirit realm as being in the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, whatever you want to call it, then it starts to change even our perception of our 3-dimensional selves, I think. Don't know, let me know what you think. In our sort of striving to always be better, to maybe always tune in better, to hear spirit better, to live in step with the management better, to live in step with the universe better, whatever you want to call it, or to go through a healing process. Even the act of trying, because often that's what we do. We say, oh, I must try harder, or I must be better, is defeating, is putting a blockage in the way of the progress of just being. Because our striving, our attempts to do things rather than just be, is very much a human aspect. So we always want to increase and improve the being, our ability to do the dowsing. We want to improve our dowsing. We want to do things to improve our dowsing. We tend to be reluctant, especially as we're learning, stage 1 and stage 2, to actually just sit and allow and follow where our dowsing will take us. So in other words, to pay attention to what aspects of dowsing actually give us the best and most solid results. What we do is we say, whoa, I should be going this way. So therefore you try to go one way, and it's not necessarily the way that you are being led, or you feel with your results that you should go. Let me just pop onto David's comment. Yeah, well, absolutely. So a walking trance, basically, David. Fantastic. I agree. Absolutely love it. Yeah. And you see, if you're walking through nature and just able to relax and to enjoy the natural world, you are being in that sense, because you are allowing this aspect of you to reflect back. That's what it is, nature. That aspect of you that is connected to the ultimate creator being reflected and being present around you. Now, we talked spirit. When we talk about spirit, we think a lot about manifesting and about change and about healing. And obviously on this channel, we're talking about, I come from a house healing background. So we're affecting somebody's environment in order to help improve their well-being. And then there's millions of channels out there about manifesting and about creating a spiritual space in which you can relax and be your true self. And a lot of the time we do talk about trying to put our human selves, our ego selves out of the way. And of course, to a certain extent, we do want to do that. We need to be sometimes addressing the world from the point of view of identifying when our ego is speaking and our ego is wanting and our ego is crying, because, half the time that's our healing that we need to be connecting to. In other words, what I'm saying is that half the time the troubles that we have in our lives are caused by the ego, not by the spirit self. But this is not to say that the ego should be banished. And when we think about manifesting and we think, well, things should be different to what they are. Really? Really? Should they? Really? Okay. Yeah. I mean, I do this all the time. I'm saying, why are these things not like, why is this not working? And that frustration is ego-based. We are all driven, I'll just look at my note here, we're all driven by really, really, really 3 aspects. But I want you to think about this in terms of the spiritual point of view that we talk about here on the channel. And we've talked about this a lot, right? Our perception, our awareness. That point of awareness. If you're frustrated, then your awareness is holding the energy of frustration. If you're angry, your energy is holding the energy of anger. This is the really obvious stuff. Bear with me. If you're joyful, then you're holding the energy of joy. If you're feeling love, you're holding the energy of love. If you're feeling peaceful and particularly in the zone, then that's what you're feeling. You're holding the space. You are holding that energy. And so what is you? Because you are not joy, peace, love, anger, frustration. You are not those things. Those things are your experience, what you are experiencing, what you are relating to. So what is you? And what is you? How can you be you? How can you be the you that you were when you were 6 months old? If we look at the standard 3-dimensional parameters in which we live our lives and assume that we have a being that remains constant, which we don't, because we are not our 6-month-old self. So if you look at it from the spiritual perspective, from the perspective of a spiritual being, that is experiencing the now, then what actually is occurring is that everything is changing around that point of awareness. So when we think like, if I get up and walk out of my office and walk to the other end of the house, then clearly my body is walking along and things are changing around me, right? But in the emotional sense, emotionally, energetically speaking, spiritual energy wise, point of observation wise, nothing's changing. Information is passing past me. My point of awareness doesn't change. My point of awareness changes. It doesn't even change if I go into the other end of the house and my wife's there and for some reason she's in a foul mood, heaven forbid, and it makes me angry. I just play host to anger. What changes? The point of awareness isn't anger. The point of awareness is hosting anger. Or if she's in a particularly lovely mood, then it's lovely, we have a lovely development, then we hold that energy of love. But we are not love, in that sense, or we are not anger in that sense. We are just hosting that particular point. And for 70, 80, 50 years, whatever, however many strings of moments we may be present in this three-dimensional environment for, in other words, how long do we live for? We're just playing host to a completely different set of information, moment on moment on moment on moment on moment on moment, but we're just that one point of awareness. And that one point of awareness doesn't change. Doesn't even change when it leaves the three-dimensional environment. So I was walking up the hill, I said, just before coming online, I was walking online. Hang on, sorry, Billy. Why is like this conversations mostly after contacting a helpline? I discovered it took forever and didn't help. Oh, is that what is okay? So, well, yeah, that frustration, but that's that's the point. You're holding that frustration at that point. You are not the frustration. And if the only way of making use of this, because otherwise it's just a sort of philosophical bit of mumbo jumbo, the only way of making use of this as a concept is that you can, when you get angry and when you get frustrated, realize that that frustration and that anger is not you. It's as simple as that. Because in that moment of recognition, if you recognize something is not you, this is not me, then it changes the point. It changes the point of perception. Now, for some of you that are highly sensitive, you're going to be finding that you will pick up on other people's emotions, and therefore to actually realize that your true self is not the emotion that you're experiencing is of great help, because you can start to detach yourself from those emotions and witness the emotional changes that take place around you as you go through life as a human being. Yeah, we are the observer 100%, and that's all. That is literally all we are. We are just the point of observation, because when we've died, no such word as died, that point of observation continues. So what I was going to say was, I was walking up the hill earlier on, and I was feeling a bit. I was actually feeling a bit miffed with myself for having written for 2 hours these notes, which I was pretty sure I was not going to refer to. And I thought, well, that's a waste of time. I could have been doing something far more useful. And so I was walking up the hill, and actually I was thinking about writing the book and how much I love writing, and I think that's partly what's splashed out there. And I was thinking about my book and how I used to write films, short films. Now, my dad died in 2012, and of course, as soon as I thought about my dad and that, doing it again now, I got that emotion. That emotion came up. And so instantly I changed from this point of frustration to this point of actually really missing my dad. And then moving through from that, because I felt that loss, I felt that, I felt physically as I was walking up the hill, I felt that grief come through. I recognized intellectually. My mental state was, that's a bit of healing. I thought I'd got rid of all of that grief. I thought I'd moved on from that, but clearly there's some more there. Allow a little bit of a bubble to come up. And then actually I thought, but he's here. Point of awareness, because his point of awareness hasn't changed. He's still present somewhere. He will see us in a completely different way. He will see us in a completely different way from the 3 dimensions, because he's not in the 3-dimensional sphere. His capability, everybody that's passed has a different set of tools to process their information that surrounds them. But as soon as we think about somebody that we've lost, that has passed away and is in spirit in that sense, there is a connection formed, and they see us as much as we see them. They experience us as much as we experience them. And if we can allow their feeling to be present in our physical feeling, in that feeling of what comes to us in that moment, then they are